Nowadays, when it comes to trying to get into the labour market, it's really hard. It's extremely competitive, and having a degree, many would say, is just not enough.
No, graduates are often expected to prove their ability to work in many different and challenging environments.
So last year, a poll done by the research firm High Flyers found that more than 1/3 of recruiters were unlikely to employ a graduate with no work experience.
Well, one company is taking advantage of the work placement sector to help many people obtain high-level employment abroad is CRCC Asia.
It's a UK-based firm which provides work experience placements in Asia, in China in particular. It's the largest company of its kind, and Daniel Nivern is the co-founder and chief executive. Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, what does CRCC stand for?
Good question, and people do ask it. It is China Recruitment, China Consulting. Originally two organisations, one helping young people to go to China, and the other helping British businesses originally to go to China, and we merged the two together.
So, Daniel, explain to us why work experience is so important these days.
As you said, it's a very competitive job market right now. The statistics vary slightly, but it can be from between 50 to 200 applications to every single position for a graduate nowadays. So you really need to stand out from the crowd. And two things that employers always talk about is work experience and commercial awareness, and increasingly as well, intercultural skills and global competency, now that the world is more globalized and people need more global skills.
Right now, in the environment we're in at the moment, everyone's very aware of China and its presence. The world's second biggest economy, many projecting it will be the world's biggest in the not too distant future. You actually went to China the first time quite a few years ago when you were a student. Back then, it was not the done thing.
It wasn't. So that was 2004, and I went to, by Chinese standards, a small city, about 1 million people, so quite big really, but a small city about 4 hours south of Beijing, and I taught English there. And people were talking about China, of course, but I don't think it was quite as important as it is today. Obviously, China is in the news quite a lot right now, and as you said, depending on which statistic you look at, it's either parity with the US in terms of the economy, or it has surpassed the US economically. And we think it's really important that young people go and get experience in China and Asia.
Let's talk about cost, because obviously the person who comes to you and says, I want work experience in Asia has to pay, or at least someone has to pay. How much does it cost and what do you provide?
It's a great question. So the cost is between £3,000 and £6,000, depending on location and duration. Tokyo is almost expensive for 3 months. That would be around £6,000. And Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam would be around £3,000. And that includes your visa processing, includes your internship provision, includes accommodation throughout the duration of the program. So it's serviced apartments shared with other students on the program from around the world. And then there's a whole sequence of business and social events. And in terms of who funds it, the really exciting part is that 70% of our students, it's now funded by either universities, so we partner with universities in the UK, the US, Australia, or in the UK and New Zealand and Australia by the government. So we do partner with the British Council in the UK, for example.
How do you guarantee good quality work experience, though, for those students who find £3,000 to £6,000? That's a lot of money for a student to find somehow or other, because that's always the worry, isn't it? You'll end up in Shanghai, Tokyo, whatever, and there's no going back really. If it's a rubbish internship, you've got to see it through anyway, and it might look good on the CV, but actually the experience wasn't that great.
Yeah, that's fair. And we do put a lot of work into making sure the companies are great. So we have teams on the ground in each of our 9 locations. And they are the teams that work with the companies, and we do training sessions with the companies. We do award ceremonies with the companies. So we have an annual host company award ceremony where they get the best supervisor, for example, or best placement, and we're constantly vetting. And we do work with a whole range of companies. We've actually worked with the BBC in Beijing, was one of our placements, for example, and also some startups and SMEs as well.
And how do you ensure gender balance and also BAME balance within the students that you send out?
So we do run a lot of our own scholarships as well, and we do encourage anybody to look. It's normally around November, October time we start promoting those scholarships. Women in STEM actually is one of those scholarships. We are trying to help more women, female students to go on the program who are studying STEM subjects.
And that's science, technology, engineering and maths.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Yes. And we do also run other scholarships. So students with a disability, we do in partnership with the British Council in Tokyo. LGBTQ students, care leavers is a new category we're introducing this year, and BAME students as well. So we are doing our best to try and incorporate as many people as possible.
Okay. Okay, Daniel Nivern, so good to have you on the programme. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us today.
Thank you very much.